an insightful and an enjoyable time in this journey that you're actually undertaking to understanding yourself and your world and your interactions and um, through the language and the frequencies and the meaning of color. It really is just a fabulous rainbow journey that we journey into and through in so many different ways as we work through our layers of being, as mentioned previously. So welcome officially to the third teleclass in the series. And what I'd like to ask you first is that you were provided with the Crystal Rainbows meditation, the MP3 process, to work with during the past week. Did any of you get chance to work with it? Was there anything that came up for you that became obvious as you actually did that meditation? So just waiting for some typing in the chat room. Just for those that are tuning in later, I'd like to add, while the two online ladies are typing in their comments. Okay, lovely one there. Is that we really seem to have a bit of a yellow theme playing at the moment, just in general, and the comments actually seem to be leading towards that too. So Rosa said that yes, she realized every time she listened, she missed a color and went off somewhere, but was drawn to yellow and violet. And it certainly is that time of year. I'm sitting with my yellow scarf on at the moment because yellow is about clarity, yellow is about lightness, it is about clearing any mental confusion, it is uplifting and an antidote for these really heavy clouds that we've seen a lot more of this week as the winter draws in, also for the darkness of night. You know, we start missing the brightness of the energizing colors. Okay, so we have another comment. Had a few problems staying conscious throughout the first few times. Very relaxing. Yeah, it's a wonderful meditation. So what I would suggest you do is continue using that MP3 and notice how with each journey consciously work with and use the colors that you are drawn to, and then take note of how your response during that color journey changes as you consciously work with those frequencies that you've been prompted to. So you'll find that you start moving in and out of various colors that you will need more or less of at various times. So yeah, definitely a bit of a yellow theme going on at the moment, which just seems to be much needed. It's not surprising, given our external environmental conditions, that's what we're drawn to. So the other thing that I asked you to do as part of your homework, is a bit of a fun exercise to do, and it is lovely, is to draw a clown. Now, Rose has very kindly sent hers in for us to use as a case study. So as a little bit of light-hearted fun, we're actually going to start off this session doing a case study of the clown so that you guys with your own clowns can actually take your picture, and I'm going to send you some notes, and you can have a look at what that clown may be saying to you and about you, both through the colors, both through the way that it's drawn. There's some amazing insights in the picture as it's drawn. And you can use this in workshops. Um, don't worry, Rose, it's not that bad. You can use it in workshops, you can use it with clients, because it's relaxing, it's a way for the unconscious to actually express itself. And it's a fun, uplifting exercise, and it will give you insights into whatever individual you may be working with. So it's a lovely, lovely process. The insights are not only through the colors themselves, they are also through the positioning of the clown, the way that the clown is drawn, how it's located on the page, that sort of thing. So, without further ado, let's get into this session with a little bit of work, a little bit of having a look at Rose's clown. So thank you so much, Rose, for sending it in. I've scanned it and I've put it here on the presentation. So the first thing that you would do once you've drawn your own clown is take your piece of paper and fold it lengthwise, half, okay, so that the ends meet, and then crosswise. So you basically fold your paper into 4 sections. Okay, and what I've done to represent those 4 sections here is I've actually just drawn the lines which represent the left and the right and the top and the bottom. So the first thing that you're actually going to have a look at with your clown is how it's positioned on the page that you've drawn it on. So if you're looking at it, this would be the left-hand side of the body, and this represents the right-hand side of the body. So one of the first things that you would do is you'd take a look and say, okay, so how is the left and the right sides of the body represented by my clown? What does it say about me? Because this would give you an indication of how you are working with both your left body feminine energy, the feminine stream or the right brain, and the right body which connects with the left brain, which is the analytical, logical thinking aspect of who we are. So the more the clown is centered on the page, the more balanced we are in terms of the brain hemispheres and in terms of our masculine feminine energy. So the one thing that we can actually notice here is that the clown is drawn such that there is more emphasis on the right side of the body or the left brain. So this says that there is more than likely a tendency within Rose to concentrate or focus more on the logical thought processes rather than the intuitive ones. So very connected with the intuition, but with a tendency to then analyze it. So the focus becomes more on decision making associated with a logical analysis rather than an intuitive immediate decision. So the left and the right, that's what that would actually be representing, as well as all of the other things that the left and the right brain actually represent. You know, sort of the left brain also represents being great with things like mathematical stuff, with processes, with procedures. So it could also be that at this time in your life, what you are focusing more on is processes and preciseness of things as opposed to the flowing nature. So you may even find that you're not flowing with things as much as you would like to, or don't have the space to perhaps act on your more intuitive guidance as much as you would want to. So I don't know if that actually makes sense to you, Rose. While you're actually tuned in here, that's the first thing. And Hillary, do you have any other, while we're actually talking here, do you have any other insights that you would actually like to add about that you connect with in the drawing? Okay, yeah, great comment, Rose. You're enjoying the colored diamonds. I know, I noticed those. I thought they were brilliant. Where Rosa said tends to be more intuitive, but do tend to analyze. There's another clue in the drawing as well about that, and that is in the placements of one of the colors, which I'll actually show you now. It's very interesting doing this exercise. So the other thing that you would look at then is the top half of the body versus the lower half of the body and how the clown is actually placed there. So it's an indication of whether or not the individual themselves tends to be more head in the clouds type, or more grounded and earthy. So you can see that this clown is very, very solidly anchored in so the emphasis in terms of placement on the page and attributes of the drawing, the emphasis is on the lower part of the body. So more anchored in the here and now. So less likely to go off and be away with the fairies. Sort of more likely to be taking practical action, okay about being in your body, okay about being here, and doing what needs to be done. So that's one of the other things that we would look at. What is interesting is then we can actually start looking at the clothing and the colors, because what you might also find with some people who draw their clowns is that the colors are different on the left and the right. And for those of you that haven't done your clown yet, try not to be analyzing it either while you're drawing it now after you've actually heard all of this. So the colors and their placement on the body would also be very significant. And one of the other things that is very, very significant here is the blue shoes. Okay, so blue tends to represent the gateway into the mind and the mental, and the feet represent our movements through life, and so the blue and the thought processes, etc. And you've also got a lovely blue ruffle here around the throat, which would be very supportive of the throat chakra and communication. So you've actually got some nice blue around there. The blue on the shoes was actually quite interesting, because again that kind of confirms or reiterates this focus about using logical decisions in order to take actions in life. So the ability, on the positive side, it's the ability to think things through. But what you want to be very careful of is possibly over-analyzing to the point where that becomes the only decision-making process that you have, is making sure that that is balanced with the intuitive. So it does, sort of have another corroborating effect for this left-right issue with these blue shoes, which is quite fascinating. So the other thing that is really interesting here is that the hands are yellow or gold, yellow gold, and they're outlined in blue. So the yellow gold would seem to be the intuitive, and wanting and being ready to grasp onto the intuitive soul aspect of self, but then the fingertips and the edges of the hands are edged in blue. So again, it's almost like before you do anything, again, there is that moving into the left brain and analyzing stuff before that action would be taken. So it's a very interesting combination there. So it does suggest a strong connection. But what is interesting is that the hands represent our ability to grasp life, in all of its dimensions, all of its colors, all of its manifestations. It's that the hands are small relative to the body. The hands and the arms are small relative to the body. So it is this perhaps slightly diminished ability to embrace all of life in all of its manifestations. Possibly some, sort of magical thinking, wanting life to be a certain way, and then going into the logical mind, which says, well, this is the way that it is, so just get on with it and just do it. The colors, Rose is typing, so let's have a look at. Absolutely. Okay. Wonderful. It's quite fascinating. It's just, and it is intuitive. And when I actually do this with partners, and it is interesting to do with partners, I don't give people the sheet with which to analyze the clown. I just say, allow yourself to intuitively connect with this. Fold the paper, do this. These are the basic guidelines. Now, allow yourself to intuit what you're connecting with. What is that clown actually saying to you? So each time that you draw your clown, you'll find that it's different. Now, one of the beautiful things that actually is here is that the clothing, there's almost all of colors represented in the clothing. So you've got the yellow, the blue, the violet, the red here, and then you've got magentas. So you've got virtually all of the colors represented in the outfit, which is just absolutely lovely. So it's kind of like this multifaceted openness to life. But Rose, can you see the one color that's missing? And this is very relevant because it was the first color that you started off working with. The one color that's not really significantly present, these are yellows and golds, and I think this is a tiny little bit of orange. Yeah, Rose has picked it up. The one color that's missing is orange. Um, and what Rose has actually done, she's got a little bit of orange, or is that yellow, I think, mixed in with the hair. So there is a little bit there, but is that energy and that ability to, as you embrace life, to fully enjoy and be in that moment, if you like, of just pure enjoyment of life in the moment. Now, when we're sitting there with two broken wrists and or having gone through some of the trauma that you have, I can well understand that that would be a little bit of a setback, and why the hands would then also be represented as smaller, because they're kind of out of commission fully at the moment. So it is interesting that they were small, bearing in mind the injuries that you've actually had to those areas. So it is sort of a lack of ability to really embrace that. So by bringing orange as the missing color into your life, it not only supports the healing of the trauma around the broken wrists, yeah, it also then enables you to lift yourself up into a different space by balancing with the one color that's actually missing. And by feeling supported. Orange is all about support. So you probably went through a stage or a period, perhaps through the broken wrist situation, where maybe you felt unsupported too, just in that space, in that stage. If you're on your own with nobody around to help you and you can't drive, I mean, what do you do when you actually can't use your hands? It was like when I broke my ankle, it was very much the same. So I felt that support was missing. So have a look at the orange issues that we spoke about in the previous session in your book. Um, Although the orange is there around the head. Asked for help, but friends too busy. Very interesting. Now, the one thing that was also very interesting is the fact that the hat, which usually would sit on top of the head, and you probably sort of did the drawing and, I don't know, maybe thought about the hat afterwards, or there just wasn't room for the hat or whatever. But the hat is again on the side of the drawing, disconnected from the clown itself. So this being a pointy hat, to me, is the violet. Sure, the hat represents the crown chakra and the crown energy. Yeah, very interesting. And this is Charlie the clown, by the way. So it represents the crown energy, and that crown energy, when it's open, is our conduit to the full essence of our higher self, that connection to the soul star. If we go back to the whole diamond imagery, by taking the hat off, it's almost like being disconnected, disconnecting yourself from that conduit, that opening, that guidance, that presence, the fullness of the presence of your higher self, to make it manifest within the body. And it's also placed on the drawing towards the lower half of the body. So again, it kind of corroborates this emphasis of the mind in the lower part of the body. So the mind governing the actions as opposed to that connection with higher self. So I don't know if that makes any sense at all, Rose. Yeah, feeling disconnected since your accident. And that's where sometimes, we kind of go through that. Well, why has it happened? Why did this happen? And we can't get any answers. So it may be, and that's where you were also, two of the colors that you connected with in the color meditation process was yellow and violet. So you actually need some violet in terms of helping to rebalance this and reestablish your connection and build the gold, building that gold of self. Um, so yes, you do have, there's a lot of orange around the head. So you've got orange around the head and blue around the feet. And that would say to me that there's probably a bit of a tendency at the moment um, to again worry a lot, that your mind is busy, that there's a lot of orange energy, which is active energy around the head. So it would make your mind busier at the moment. So there's not enough space, if you like. There's not enough space and quietness to be able to reestablish that connection. So I think that's part of your journey, is reestablishing your connection with Source and higher self, uh, so that you can put your hat back on. Okay, make that connection and actually feel the flow of that presence, so that this orange is brought down to this energy where it then rebalances everything. And the blue also is more supportive of that intuitive connection. Because blue, sort of blue around this area would relate to the head and would relate to the opening of the connections of the third eye. So instead, what you've got is you've got that energy sitting down at your feet rather than here, where it would actually rebalance and support of the third eye. So there you go. That's just a little bitty bit of information um, around the clown picture, but there is a lot that you can see and take away from it. Our unconscious is the most amazing thing. It really expresses itself in so many different ways, and there is a whole document, so I'm going to email this to you, the clown process, and it's taken from a book by Lillian Bond, who's a very well-known color therapist. And, drawing bypasses the rational mind, as she says here. So she looks at the whole clown. So the interpretation looks at the clown, looks at the eyes, looks at all of the elements, looks at the colors, looks at the arms. Here you say, short arms. Say, I know I won't get it, so I won't try. Now, how's that? That phrase actually caught me, bearing in mind the smaller arms and the smaller hands. So there's some wonderful, wonderful insights in the little addendum that I'm going to give you, that you can then use to take a look at your own clown and how that can help you with insights. Yeah, that's exactly it. I know. So if we see the explanation, we start analyzing almost as we're doing it, and that defeats the whole objective, because this is allowing our unconscious to express. And also understand what's really, really important. Whenever we are doing things like this, whether we are working with color, whatever we may be doing, there is no judgment whatsoever on whatever the information is. It's just information, and it's information that we can choose to use or not use, sort of as the case may be. So, Rose, I thank you very much for sharing your picture and allowing us to work with it in a public forum. So thank you very much for your bravery and for your openness in allowing us to work with it in that way. Hilary, is there anything else that you can sense, feel, pick up in the clown? Thank you, Rose. Before we actually move on to the next part of the color work. Okay, for those that can't read the comments, Hillary's just said I was fascinated with the hair. Has he had a fright? He had a shock. He had a shock. As Rose has actually done, he had a shock, all his hair standing on end. I mean, both of her wrists were broken in the last 6 months, Rose. So yeah, this poor guy has actually had one heck of a shock. So yeah, brilliant. You're right. Has he had a fright? He has. He's had a shock. So allow your intuition to guide you to the information that is actually encoded within this, in the colors and in the way in which those colors are actually used. There is a huge amount of info there. So thank you, Rose, again. And let's move on. The shock made his hat fall off. Okay, that's a good one. Okay. Right, ladies, if you're ready, let's go on and do a couple more colors. Okay, so what I'd like you to do is just close your eyes for a moment. We're going to do a few more colors with your intuitive connections. So take a deep breath in, close your eyes, and allow your breathing to just take you into that quiet space within, that quiet, intuitive, all-knowing space occupied by your higher self. Just breathe and then let go of any thoughts on your breath as you rest into your beingness. And when you're ready, open your eyes and focus on the color on the screen. And just simply allow the impulses, the words, the feelings, the phrases, the knowingness to emerge from within you as you connect with this color. Okay, so what we've got soft as silk. Oh yes, does it feel silky? Feminine, nurturing, love and romance and soothing. Yeah, it is. It's very silky and soothing and cocooning. It's gentle. Lush. Oh, lovely. Rose, roses, yes. Delicate. Flower, fruit, sweet. Yeah. Sugary, sweet. Cheery and solemn. It's very interesting that you've picked up kind of two aspects to that on the other sides, on the two opposing sides of the coin. Yeah, absolutely, because there can be a solemnness in the challenging aspects of pink, but you've connected sort of very strongly with the basic essence of the pink color, because pink is a lighter, more intense form of red. So we have issues of, sort of if red is the primary chakra that starts defining our physical presence, it does have a lot to say about our sense of self. So in the pink, we have strong issues around self-judgment and self-acceptance, which leads to a lot of imbalances in other chakras too. Now, the wonderful thing about pink is that it is actually a bridge between the root chakra and the heart. So pink actually is associated with both of them, both the root chakra and the heart, because of the element or aspect of love. and the nurturing element that it brings, because when we are in nurturing mode, we naturally allow our heart energy to unfold. And that is where this is really about anchoring the heart energy into our physical body in order for it to guide our actions. So this is where we start anchoring the heart through the physical. Because for many people, when they start on this, if you like, spiritual journey, for want of a better word, they tend to focus on the chakras from the heart and up, and don't place very much emphasis or energy on the chakras, on the lower chakras, because there is almost a denial of physicality. There is almost a desire for that reunion with the divine that takes people away with the fairies, and that there is an ignoring and setting aside of the physical body and the needs of the physical. So what pink does is it actually bridges the heart with the physical. So it brings that love into our everyday world, enables us to make it manifest through its association with the root chakra. So on the positive side, as a color, pink is an energy that represents love, it represents kindness, and as you said, feminine nurturing, always offering help or support to anyone in need. And it's a selfless giving. It really is. So it's without consideration for the self in that sense. There is an inner beauty that shines, and that's where you get that love and romance and the soothingness as well. So there's an inner beauty and a lightness of being and an elevated soul consciousness. So in its positive aspects, this is a really beautiful, powerful, uplifting color. So you can see why pink is one of the colors, the sort of the pink, the coral, that would be suggested and is suggested and recommended for providing that safe, nurturing space and environment for babies. So this is absolutely one of the colors, irrespective of whether they're male or female. Babies, it is still a very powerful, nurturing color. So everything that's done comes from the heart with true love and with compassion. Compassion is another color that's associated with pink. Now, on its challenging side, there is a lot of self-denial and self-judgment leading to, and here we again see the association with the red, which can lead to intense financial problems because the focus and the energy is always on others. So there are financial difficulties because there is not enough acceptance, a recognition that is actually given to the self. Okay, so that same unconditional love, the open arms that are extended to others, actually needs to be extended to the self. Difficulty in trusting and finding love. So it's very easy for others to trust you. Somebody who chooses this as a color in their set would be a very trusting person, somebody that other people feel that they can trust very easily because they can sense that open heart, that compassion. But at the same time, an individual who has challenges with this would find it very, very difficult to trust enough in others to let them in because they are very easily hurt and disappointed, because another word or attribute that goes along with this is sensitivity. So there is a sweetness, there is a delicate sweetness about life around an individual who's operating in the harmonious positive attributes of pink, but that sweetness may very often be lacking from their own life as a consequence of the lack of trust and too much giving. And again, in a very similar vein to coral, is an exhaustion as a consequence of giving and giving and giving. And in very similar vein to coral too, where this is out of balance, where pink is needed, you may very often find hormonal problems. Problems with the hormonal system, problems with the womb, with the ovaries, with the energy, with nurturing, with being able to give birth to new things in life, because the person doesn't trust themselves enough to be able to manifest those things, sort of on the challenging side. So somebody who is gentle and loving and kind in a similar vein to coral, who doesn't allow that same gentleness, lovingness, kindness to be received by them, and is very self-judgmental. So pink is great to also be used with green. And one of the interesting things I must just tell you about pink, and this has been quite fascinating because this is very real, is that there were experiments done. Pink, because of its association with red and the lightness and the intensification of it, pink here, is that there has actually been work done, I think I may have mentioned it in the first session, I can't remember, where they actually painted the cells of some hardened criminals pink in a high security prison. And over a period of time, these criminals, their behavior was assessed by various psychologists. So this was a documented study that was done. And what was found was that the levels of aggression and anger within those individuals actually did reduce. So pink is a color that is used to neutralize aggression and neutralize anger. So in the face of such kindness, in the face of such love and softness, you almost can't be angry. So it does actually help to neutralize that powerful anger force that can be very destructive. Okay. So any other comments there from you ladies? The information that you would be able to get in your workbook is actually on page 43. So you can read up about some of the other attributes and qualities there. Any comments? Nope. I'm surprised the inmates didn't object to having pink in their cells. I think as inmates, Hillary probably had no choice. It was a case of this or else. And I don't know what shade of pink it would have been, but, they had psychologists and they're working with them too. It's just amazing what it all reveals. I was never allowed to wear pink. My mom said it didn't suit me. Yeah, yeah, it's more than likely one of her issues. And I actually find that at the moment, my mum having gone through same kind of thing, having gone through a lot where she's lost two husbands, been through marriages. My stepdad actually died of cancer a couple of years ago, and there were issues around that. He didn't leave her. He hadn't sorted stuff out before he passed away. He just went into total denial. It was just never addressed, and my mum has had to sort of pull the pieces of her life back together again since then, and she's wearing a lot of pink. And I think it is, I mean, she obviously doesn't realize what it's saying, and I do try and help her in so many ways. But it is that almost a denial of herself as a consequence of his behavior that she is now trying to heal and repair through loving herself, regaining that recognition of self. Very powerful stuff. And beautiful insights, actually. My mum always wore black or brown. Yeah. And you don't necessarily need to avoid them because you can actually accent them with different colors. So there are so many ways of working with color. But that's what, yeah, it's the rebellion in us that says, I'm not going to be like that. But if we can do that with awareness, and say, okay, I can see what she's doing. Because if she was wearing black or brown, it would have been a total denial of who she was, of not knowing, probably just total confusion and protection. Yeah. So, okay, let's have a look at the next color. So now I've actually I couldn't quite get the shade of the color right, but it still will connect us. So now we've got blue. So what I want you to do again is sort of in front of the screen is just take a deep breath in and breathe out. And again, just allow yourself to rest into the space of knowingness within you. And as you open your eyes and look at the color, allow your intuitive, deeply felt knowingness to emerge within you. And spend a few moments focusing on the colors on the screen. And then make your little notes. Okay. Lovely. What have we got? We've got cooling, calming, clarity of speech. Absolutely. Summer sky. Yeah, that's what I always think of when I see this color. Cool water and refreshing. Beautiful and very soothing. Um, without having done this exercise, we kind of don't realize how much we already understand this language. And then we've got other words: calm, sensual, oceanic, sad, spacious. Do you know, it's interesting because as I connected with this, I could almost feel tears welling within me. So it is actually a releasing. There is a sadness, and blue is associated with depression as well. Calm, sensuous, and spacious, the openness of blue skies. It's almost like being able to access the infinite. And if we, sort of bear in mind that this is the throat chakra, and this is what it represents in terms of the energetic linkage. The throat chakra is the gateway into the higher realms, the spaciousness, the infinity of multidimensional experiences, to infinite understanding, to infinite information. So there is that, aside from the analogy of this expansive blue sky, it is actually the gateway within us into the higher energy centers, which give us that inner expansiveness as well. Yeah, it's a beautiful, beautiful color. Well, they all are. When I'm running a workshop, people always say to me, you just love them all, because as I'm going through them, I'm going, oh, I love this color. And they go, you just love them all. Because I do it. I don't even realize I do it all the time, but they are just stunning. Now, one of the questions that I actually ask individuals, if they choose this immediately in their challenge position, or even if it's not in the challenge position in a reading, is whether or not they get stiff necks often, stiff necks, sore throats, and whether they actually have problems sleeping, insomnia, because those are some of the attributes that are governed. Because, first of all, sort of being around the whole neck area and governing that area, any imbalance would immediately impact all of the muscles. So you would feel it straight away in the stiff necks. And the sore throats. The other thing is in grinding the teeth. Yeah, Hillary, you get stiff necks. And it's interesting that we were talking earlier about yellow and violet, or yellow and blue, sort of the opposite sides of the spectrum. So this would indicate that there is an imbalance in the level of expression and the ability and confidence of being able to express yourself fully and completely. Trusting. Big element of trust in this. Keywords associated with blue, I always go trust, insomnia, stiff necks, communication, clarity, clarity versus confusion, and you start going into the realms of depression, inner worlds as well. Now, somebody who chooses this color, you would often find one of the other words associated with this is conflict, because this individual would rather hold back what they would want to say very often because they want to avoid creating conflict situations at all costs. So it's the needing to keep the peace. Blue is a color that's associated with the energy of peace very often. So pink is associated with love, keyword green with space, blue with peace. So somebody who clams up and doesn't like communicating in groups, doesn't feel confident communicating in groups or in front of groups of people, or who doesn't like communicating something that is really, really important to them on their mind because they know it's going to upset somebody or perhaps cause a bit of conflict, can actually cause an imbalance. So it's holding back energy in this area can cause the stiff necks and the sore throats. Do you have easy, honest, clear ability to communicate, which is a strong point associated with this? And somebody who is not confident, stuttering, for instance, stuttering, you'd likely find imbalances in the blue-yellow colors of the spectrum, because the yellow is the confidence and the stress and anxiety. The minute the person gets stressed or anxious, they start stuttering. So it actually impacts on the opposite side and on this color. Whereas what you actually find is that if they are taught to use their voice in an easy way, like singing, they can get through singing. Think about that movie, The King's Speech, and what have you. Through singing, they can actually get their words out without going into the anxiety, because through that they access the flow of joy, which bypasses that stress and anxiety. So very, very interesting. Generally, in a positive sense, there's a very strong sense of self associated with blue and an innate ability to trust. On the opposite side of the coin is the inability to trust, whether that's trusting other people or trusting the inner guidance. So you start also seeing that sort of strong intuitive, the beginnings of psychic sensitivity, sort of using other senses in order to be able to suss things out. So it's an increased and enhanced sensitivity with this color. Tending to be able to feel what others are experiencing, to empathize with others with their emotional state. So you find counselors, for instance. All of those in the helping professions tend to have very strong blue one way or another within their color profiles, because there is, if you really think about it, there's safety, there's trust, there's help, there is support, that's all wrapped around the blue. You know, it's no mistake that for many years nurses' uniforms were blue. The police's uniforms were blue until they started getting militarized and they've turned them all to black. You know, so there was an inherent message in the use of blue, and in corporate logos as well. They use a lot of blue in corporate attire, corporate uniforms, and corporate logos, because there is that you can trust in us. They're trying to convey a message that you can actually trust in us through that color. So you start seeing how they apply it out there in the corporate world. The other side of that is misuse or abuse of that trust. And what you may find is that in its challenging aspects as well is an abuse of authority that comes about as a consequence of this. So you could find individuals who have imbalances here having problems with authority. So where they don't trust very easily, and therefore they also have a problem with authority. And this can also lead to problems listening to their inner guidance, because this means that they have to trust another type or level of authority. It's trusting in the authority of their own sovereign higher self. So wherever there is mistrust, it cascades out through their lives in many different ways. So it's not just trusting external authority, anybody that's perceived as authority, it's also trusting their own inner authority. So you end up with individuals, and this is also where the stiffness and the what have you comes in, because there's just no trust at all. They find it very, very difficult to let go. It's like I need to, one of the other hidden elements in this is control. I need to control. If I let go of control, I'm afraid that everything will actually fall apart because I don't trust that everything will be okay. I don't trust that life is safe. I don't trust that I have what's needed in order to get me through this. So lots of information on the imbalance side that could lead to those physical aspects. Thyroid imbalances may also suffer from insomnia. Blue is also very, very calming. So it is soothing, absolutely on the positive side. So where you've got somebody who is absolutely hyper and the orange-yellow aspects of the spectrum, you know, think about the foods that were making kids hyper not that long ago, and it was particularly orange colored, all those E number colorings that were in foods, kids' foods especially, and in sweets. So not only were they getting a sugar rush, they were actually getting the high or the up from the colored components in the foods, particularly the oranges and the yellows were notorious for this. So blue is actually a soothing aspect for the hyperactivity of the opposite side of the spectrum. There's loads and loads of levels of information. So it's protection by withdrawing. It's withdrawing from the external world, protecting oneself because of this lack of trust. And also the potential to overanalyze, be stuck in the head, and with overanalysis comes the getting stuck in cycles of thoughts and potential cascading of negative thoughts. Okay, so there's a lot that you can actually find in that color. Have you ladies got anything that you would like to add or any questions on that one? Just thinking about school uniforms, usually blue dresses or shirts. Yes, absolutely, most of them, because there is an aspect or an element of conformity, because there again we have the control and trust issues, and it's the imposition of external authority using this color. And yeah, so most of them are blue. And I have seen some that are actually red as well, and one would actually have to look at the essence of that school. I think a lot of the religious schools would actually have grey and red as part of their school uniform. So red is also, it's interesting because red on its challenging side would actually be about controlling the life force of those individuals. This is about controlling the speech and regulating their relationships with authority. So it is quite fascinating. Lack of trust is mainly for authority figures. Yeah, absolutely. My godson has purple and yellow. He's a chorister. Yeah, absolutely. So the yellow is actually allowing it's the confidence as well to allow the expression of the voice. And of course, as a chorister, usually that would be with hymns and religious expression. So the purple would be part of that communicating and connecting with the divine and enabling that to flow through. So there's a lot of stuff. And this will also begin to settle I think, and integrate for you when we go through the color readings, because then you will understand the context for each of these within the scope of the reading and the relationship with other color choices. Okay, so let's look at the next one. We're going to do four this time. There are 13 colors in all that we work with, and obviously we're going to go through the readings, and there's some more exercises as well. So in the next two sessions, we will do the balance of the colors and begin the process of working with the readings. So here we go again. So, take a deep breath in. Breathe out and just let your mind relax and rest as you reconnect with your knowingness, with your higher self. Okay, once more, deep breath in and out. And you can open your eyes. Oh, I'm really liking this one. It is so interesting going through the scan because I'm sort of just allowing myself to experience the colors as they come up too, and this one is just really communicating with me at the moment. So what have we got? Opportunity, purity, blank canvas, spirit, innocence, marriage, snowdrops, peace, oh, beautiful, beautiful, ice cream, yummy, yummy. Now, of course, the oil that we work with, it's actually called pearl, as Penny calls it, the pearl oil of transformation. So it's not sort of opaque in this sense, but it is also, it represents white. So the other thing that we've got is emptiness, pure, holy, sacred, and divinity. Absolutely. Perfect, perfect descriptions for this particular color. And certainly in its positive aspect, it is the blank canvas upon that reflects all colors. So it doesn't hold on to anything. There is that emptiness, absolutely. So that's a beautiful word for that, Hillary, because that emptiness doesn't need to hold on to anything. It is an open, flowing, not even a vessel, a channel for just the continual flow of divine light. Um, in all of its manifestations. So it's the emptiness that says I have a choice of what I actually want to express through this. So it is that blank canvas and the purity of that blank canvas. I mean, who hasn't felt this? I mean, I know that I have a notebook fetish, and I know so many people who do. I love getting brand new journals or brand new notebooks that haven't got anything written in or drawn in, and there's a beauty about opening up to that blank page and saying, okay, so what can I write? What can I express upon this page? You know, do I want to draw? Do I want to what's the word? Doodle. You know, what do I want to do with this emptiness, this beautiful opportunity that I've been presented with? Yeah, I know. It's sort of that blankness. I love it. And even when I've written on a page, turning over to write on a whole new blank page, it's just There is a real beauty associated with this. It's just absolutely lovely. So, you've captured the positive essence of this color. So how would this relate to individuals who choose this color? So, like finding fresh snow. Yes, I know. Isn't it just wonderful? No footprints on it. It's like I want to make my footprints on it. So in its positive sense, it is somebody who essentially is that innocence. It is somebody who is operating from the perspective of the eternal child. You could actually say that this represents the eternal child. That beauty of innocence, of a journey, of an adventure, of an exploration into the unknown, with that innocence. So it actually somebody who is clearly guided because of the level of somebody who's transparent, just totally transparent. And because of the transparency, there's generally a very clear connection with the divine and with that guidance. So it's a wonderful, wonderful, clear and positive and enthusiastic energy that goes around this. So if somebody actually had to choose this, you would know instantly that there is a purity about their essence. They are untainted in a sense. So that's in its positive aspect. In its challenging aspect, this would then represent somebody who actually, if you look at the clarity and the clearness of the oil, it could also represent on its challenging side tears and the need for tears to flow in order to purify. So there is a need for purification. So it could also represent somebody who has had an extremely tough time. So there is and somebody who is ultra very sensitive, just feeling very open, and very sensitive. So one would need to be gentle with this individual, whichever way. Hard life with many difficult experiences and the need for purifying the self, and letting go of the burdens to bring in the lightness. So there's also a very deep and a very real sadness in this. It's kind of like when you've got the snow that's been trampled underfoot, the purity and the innocence of that essence has actually been marred and stamped on, and drawn on and written on, and it's impacted and etched over and through that purity. So it's somebody who has had sort of really tough times that wants to find that again. So I hope that that's actually making sense to you. So very sensitive, very insecure, probably feeling very shaky, sort of almost on shaky ground, because of this lightness. So there would also be a need for anchoring, for helping that person to find some stability. So as a balancing color, I mean, obviously with this one, it doesn't have its complementary color or its balance. So what would really support depends on what that individual has been going through. So if they've experienced some really deep traumas, they may be needing some orange to go along with it, to complement it, to help to anchor them, to help to reduce the sensitivity and find some joy in life. Or, if they are finding that they really need some security and some space, that you could find that the blue complements it really well. That's the one thing about this particular color, is you can use any color to work with it depending on what is required for that particular individual, for what their experiences and sensitivities have arisen from. But you can see why, white is actually chosen as the color that's associated with sacred ceremonies, because of its innate connection with the fluidness, the fluidity of the divine, but also why that can actually be very challenging in the physical world, in physical life experiences. Somebody who inherently is that sensitive at their core and is that connected would find some of the harshness of physical life very, very difficult to accommodate and to process through their beingness without a high level of consciousness. So it really depends on where the person is at. Very interesting because I'm just checking here and it says that one of the issues around this is experiencing problems with sinuses. Sinuses represents the need to cry. And, you know, sort of earlier on this year, I went through a massive grief process with Smudgy, with my little boy, my dog, when he left. And the thing that actually was impacted most strongly was my sinuses. And very, very interestingly, and I hadn't connected it, I was actually using the not the pearl, but I was using the light matrix clear oil as well at the time to help to release the sinuses. So that's the need for tears. You may also find physical imbalances associated with this around such issues as water retention. So you may find cystitis, you know, either losing too much water or retaining water, anything to do with the water balance in the body associated. But the future potential is just wonderful opportunities if one is actually prepared to let go of those hurts and experiences and open up to the innocence. Yeah, a powerful note there, Hillary. You haven't cried sinus problems. That's exactly it. And sometimes it is a need for that purification because there's a purity in this color, and that is what tears and allowing ourselves to cry actually does, is it enables that purification. So it's part of the letting go, part of the recognition of the sensitivity, part of allowing. So bear in mind if you're dealing with anybody who chooses, if this is one of their colors. Okay, so there you have some insights into the clear. And if you guys are okay with that one, let's move on to the final color for this evening because we're already at, I can't believe how the time goes. We've been on for over an hour already, which is why, you know, when I do this, it's a full 2-day workshop. Okay, sorry, the pearl path is on page 45 in your workbooks because I'm jumping around here with the different colors. Okay, so that's page 45. Let's have a look at the final color for this evening. So, close your eyes and deep breath. Just allow yourself to flow on your breath. Let your mind clear from all of the thinking about the words and information to do with the colors. And deep breath in and out. Connect with your knowingness so that as you open your eyes, you actually connect with the colors on the screen and let them communicate to you. Okay, so what comments or words do we actually have associated with this? Okay, so we've got heart. Oh, lovely. Fresh cut grass, trees, nature, calming, balance, peace and calm. Absolutely. All fabulous qualities. emerald, lush, balance, soothing, and nature. Yes, without a doubt, green connects us immediately with the sense, the essence of pine, of trees, of that freshness, and balance, without a doubt. And that's why nature is so soothing for us. And incidentally, there was something that I actually wanted to mention to you, because in the first session, we were talking about, sort of the color of foods. And I was quite fascinated, as well as the link between the heart and the root chakra, and them being complements of each other, and where the root chakra governs the area of the body where we produce the blood. So we actually, the blood cells, and then the heart pumps it around the body. Green foods are the ones, like broccolis, all of your leafy greens, that are known to be the ones that are strongest in their iron components. So there you've got the hidden red, the iron in the green foods, which helps to balance our entire physical being, and support the energy which animates, brings in all of the minerals and elements. So I found that really interesting, just in terms of reiterating, strengthening that understanding. So it's green foods, like your leafy veggies, actually contain iron to support. But yes, the key words around green are balance, which is why we feel so good when we are out in nature, in places where there is a lot of green, because there is a balancing, soothing, nurturing effect. And it does expand the heart. It does enable us to reconnect with the beauty, with the magic, with the love of life itself, life that runs through all of nature. So somebody who chooses this bottle, for instance, or chooses this color, would be somebody who has a general affinity with, but possibly doesn't find as much time as they would like to be out there in nature, or somebody who really, really needs that in order to bring balance back into their lives. So there is also, because of what it represents, there is an expansiveness about this color, and about the energy of green, because it is through the heart when we start experiencing life and accepting things in a very different, non-judgmental way, that it expands our ability to embrace life in all of its manifestations. So some of the keywords associated with this, as you've already noticed, that lushness. Lush is expansive, it's rich. So yes, it is. It's expansiveness. It is space. It is direction, and it is about relationships. So it's about our relationship with our natural environment, as well as our relationship with other people. So somebody who is very strong in this color would be somebody who really enjoys being with other people, who enjoys the company of good friends and having fun with groups of people, sort of being out there, enjoying sharing their space. On the challenging aspect, is somebody who has a real concern or a problem with their space, doesn't like to let anybody in. And what happens when we do that is we close down the heart chakra. So issues of space are prominent, whether it is being overly accepting of just allowing anything in, or on the other challenging side is closing off so that we don't allow anything in. Sort of we close off completely. So you've got these imbalances of space. Same thing with relationships. Do we close off our heart center so that we don't allow people in, irrespective of the level of relationship? Or are we just so open and accepting that we do not discern or discriminate with individuals? So we can actually be used and abused as a consequence, because the heart center is too open and actually out of balance. So it's all about relationships, direction. The first thing that I usually do if somebody chooses this in a challenging position is I say to them, are you actually thinking about, or do you feel that there is a need for change in your life? Because in addition to space and relationships, direction and change are very, very prominent keynote attributes of this particular energy frequency. of the heart. And I think, as I'd mentioned previously, and I think I mentioned in the first one, it's kind of like we change our minds about things, but before we can act on it, we need to have a change of heart. So when we change our heart, we basically are accepting that there is a different space we can move into. And because of the heart link with the lower chakra, then we are able to move into that change of space. But changing our mind doesn't affect change in our life. It has to be a change of mind balanced with a change of heart in order to bring that about. So in a very positive sense, you got somebody who is outgoing, very friendly. You would perceive them as being very warm individuals because the heart center is actually open, very accepting, somebody that you feel very comfortable being around. You have an inherent feeling of trust around them. Somebody who is easily adaptable and flexible, able to sort of move and flow with different situations without necessarily being false through that as well. It is just an ease of adaptability, somebody who is adaptable. So these are really powerful things. Somebody who enjoys experiences that bring growth, because that's another key word with this one, is growth. So when we go for green, or there's a lot of green playing in our lives, we are being challenged to grow from the circumstances that we actually find ourselves in. So if we find ourselves going for that green item in the cupboard regularly, then we'll know that there is something that we are being challenged to grow through. And that's where I was saying in the first session as well, is that this was one of the colors that was very, very key for me when I moved and changed from South Africa and I came to the UK. So I had the green aspects of that expansiveness, new experiences, being able to absorb them, take them in, and grow from them, as well as the magenta of the energetic component, the energetic aspect that was balancing it. And it took a long time for that adjustment to take place. Um, so all of that. So it's growth, it's having clear boundaries, it's freedom, it's expansiveness and space. Green is a very powerful, beautiful, balancing color. It does support us in so many ways. So the challenging aspect is somebody who is actually closed off, holding on to old hurts, holding on to old disappointments. And every time we do that, we prevent ourselves from growing. So we hold on to things and we prevent ourselves from expanding into new spaces, and also finding real love. There is a need for heart healing in the challenging aspect, difficulty with establishing boundaries so that people would then take advantage of us. Yeah, Rose has made an interesting comment in the chat room here. It's interesting as I was choosing a lot of green clothes and have spring greens in my living room in spring and red in winter. Yeah, that's why we see, it's the green shoots of spring. Where do we allow those green shoots to manifest in our own lives? And do we allow them? And I think that's interesting to note. And that is what we feel as well when spring starts. It's like we shake off the hibernation, the blues of winter. Shake that off and be prepared to grow into a new energy and a new space as the sun begins to shine again, and stimulating growth. That's what sun does. So we flow through seasons as well, and we flow through grander seasons and patterns within our lives, and green is a wonderful support. But green can also, one of its challenges is too much green can actually end up as stagnation. And think about, for instance, a stagnant, or it can be indicative of stagnation. Think of a pond with water that actually hasn't moved, or that isn't able to move, and that there's no life in it. You get that green algae forming a mat on top, which prevents any further growing. So green in its challenge can also indicate stagnation, being stuck, in which case we need red to stimulate that growth and get the green shoots growing again, going again. So it's very, very powerful, and of course it's the balancing components between the mind and the heart. Sorry, between the mental realms and the action realms. So it is that pivotal point, and if we are not balanced in this particular area, we're going to really struggle to embrace what happens in our lives and actually turn circumstances to our advantage and be able to see the positive in things. So it is a pivotal place. So green, when it's out of balance, yes, yeah, we can get stuck. We can get stuck in green where it becomes stagnant and mossy. And then we need to really take action to stimulate a change. So it's action, it's the red. That moves us out of that. So this can compromise the immune system because green actually governs physically the heart, the lungs, so it also has an impact on the thymus. We start moving into turquoise, which we'll cover next time, but we do actually cover the thymus center, and the thymus actually regulates our immune system. So we do have an impact, and we can find immune system compromised, so we have constant lung problems, chest problems, heart problems, physical heart problems, blood pressure problems whenever this is out of balance. And many, many people do have without even realizing it. Um, yeah, unable to enforce personal will and emotional insecurity are also associated with this. So along with this, we could actually use, sort of orange along with some yellow to boost the emotional security issues so that we feel safer about allowing our heart to expand and feeling safer about expressing the boundaries as far as our own space is concerned. Here you get the space issue. Um, so it is having uh, boundaries to put in place. So green represents expansiveness and boundlessness versus boundaries. So we've either got tight boundaries and enclosed, or we've got boundlessness, which is no boundaries, so people take advantage. So green also supports us in actually finding that balance and being able to express our boundaries and be able to say no when it is needed. So it's a very, very powerful color for restoring balance to all the other chakras. So have you guys got any other comments or questions on that one? That is in your workbooks on page 25. There's a lot to take in, which is why we only do the colors in small chunks, because there's a heck of a lot that's actually going on at the levels of your unconscious, and it will be integrating in the week ahead. So allow yourself to work again with these colors, connect with them. That's great. I'm really pleased that you enjoyed it. So that's fabulous. That's all we're going to cover for the moment. There are more colors, but we will actually obviously cover those in ensuing weeks. Your homework for week 3, and I'm actually going to send you this. I don't like to send it to you beforehand because I don't want to, sort of preempt you going through all of the notes. So do it on a weekly basis. Hillary's just typing something in the chat room. I love it. You mentioned the violet and the yellow earlier, and that's just caught your attention. A violet orchid surrounded by yellow. Beautiful, Hillary. There's a reminder for you. So I guess, there is the yellow of confidence in order to be able to hold your space, which is the green, in the face of external authority. So look at how sort of the beauty of how those colors actually work together to support you. Just amazing. Okay, so you have work for week 3. I'm going to send you some more sheets. Well, Rose has just said, what do you mean by our color profile? sorry, your color profile, you will actually start seeing through the color readings. So there's a variety of colors, and we each have, because of our inherent character, while we journey through the spectrum of color throughout life, we have a personality which is influenced by. So we do actually have an essential color profile, which is made manifest as a consequence of our unique personality characteristics, our unique way of being in the world. So what I'm going to give you for this week, and this is also really interesting, is a color your name exercise. So I'm going to send this to you separately. And as you do this, so you'll see, let me just show you this. So it's a color your name. Each of the colors actually is associated with a number and with letters of the alphabet. So you can actually go through this and work out the colors in your name. So you can work out all of the colors that are represented by the various letters and the composite color of each of your first name, your middle name, your surname, whatever it might be. You can also do your birth date color and have a look at what colors are prominent, because if we understand that energetically we've been given our name, which is an energetic representation of who we are. We were born on a certain day because the energies were for the electromagnetic imprint. There is information in that that we can understand as well through the language of color. So it's kind of like a do-it-yourself have a look, and it really, really is interesting. Okay. Okay, yeah, I'm going to answer that question now, Rose. So you do that, and the next stage is to have a look at what colors are missing from your name. So you would have a look at all of the individual ones and say, well, I've got so many of those and so many of those and so many of the next things. So what individual colors are missing? So what would the challenges be in your life as a consequence of those missing colors? So you can go back to your workbook and have a look at those colors and the challenges and at all levels. Have a look at your birth date. What does the birth date add to your overall electromagnetic imprint? You actually have a working sheet here that you can work with, and a little working sheet that you can actually make some notes on as far as your missing colors are concerned. As part of your homework, what I suggest here, that's the essence of that. You can develop the exercise by looking at your maiden name versus your married name or names, and see how your overall color patterns changed between your birth name and your married name. So what were the attributes that were brought into your life through the colors of your married name, for instance? So look at your original name and then look at your married name, or vice versa, your married name versus your original name. Have a look at what the differences represent. Look at your spouse, your partner, and their names, and have a look at their energy and how that may complement yours and what's missing in your life. So how you may be able to adjust your relationship with them through the understanding of the color. You can also take a look at if you have a preferred name. So let's say your full name is Rosemary, but you are called Rose. Um, so have a look at what rosemary represents in terms of the fullness of the name and the original energies, and then have a look at what rose would mean. And, you know, I mean, whatever this may be. I mean, I don't know, because rose is rose, it's a name. But take a look at if you have a name that is shortened, or if your spouse or anybody else has a name that's shortened, that they have a preferred name. Have a look at their full name and have a look at the energy of their preferred name to actually see how the energies change or shift, and how they are more supportive of how that person acts in life. Make notes of your insights and which colors will best support you in the grander journey of your life. So it gives you additional insights into where you may be at now, what you may have been dealing with but perhaps been unaware of, what colors you can work with to actually support you reharmonizing with the energies of your name, with the energies of your part, etc., etc. What colors can you bring into your environment in order to be able to support that? So it's a really fun exercise. There's quite a bit you can do with it. Um, lots of additional insights that you can get through that. And then next week we will continue with some more colors and a basic color reading, which we will develop in the sessions following on from that. So thank you very much for joining us again. I just can't believe where the time goes. Um, it's been wonderful. I hope that you've enjoyed this and the insights that are building and growing within you. And thank you very much too. I will send you the email with your clown process documents and your color your name exercise for the next week. So I'll send that email out within the next 24 hours that you can then work on that. And as well as your connection details for next week, Sunday. So thank you very much for being a part of this teleclass, and I look forward to the next part of the journey with you. I'm going to officially, with that official recognition and thanks, I'm going to end the recording.